Welcome to Il Salotto Sessions, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of design with leading architects, designers, and industry experts. I'm your host, Sara Seravalli, and I'm thrilled to take you on this journey through the ever-evolving landscape of design and architecture. Let me share a bit about my background. I spent 16 enriching years in Milan, the capital of design, where I was deeply involved in showrooms and events not just in Milan, but also in Paris and London. In 2011, I made a pivotal move to London when I was hired by one of the specification market's main players to establish the new showroom in Clerkenwell. In 2013, my journey brought me to Scotland, where I founded Design Pop-Up. This initiative quickly gained traction and became a cornerstone in Glasgow and Manchester's design communities, and by 2018 we also expanded to Dublin. However, as the market evolved, I decided to refocus our efforts on Scotland. This led to the birth of Il Salotto, a new venture aimed at creating a virtual and physical space for meaningful conversations and insights into the specification market. Join us as we explore trends, share bios, and uncover the stories behind the creative minds shaping our world. In this episode, we'll dive into some exciting developments shaping the future of workplaces in Scotland. Our guest for today is Peter Kerr, Director of Atelier Ten and new Chair for the BCO Scotland, taking over from Gillian Stewart. What does this leadership change mean for the industry? We'll explore the goals, challenges and dreams ahead of the organisation and the new leadership. Next, we'll take a closer look at the current situation and future challenges facing workplaces across Scotland, from evolving work habits to sustainable design trends. Lastly, we'll touch on Peter's work with the Dementia Services Development Centre at the University of Stirling, where his focus on lighting for wellness is contributing to significant strides in creating environments that support cognitive health. This will connect us to the upcoming Design Pop-Up Edinburgh event, where these themes will be explored in greater depth. Hello there and welcome to another episode of Il Salotto Session. Today I've got the pleasure of chatting with Peter Kerr. Peter, good morning.
Morning, Sarah. How's things?
Yeah, good. So Peter, Director of Atelier Ten Scotland, a big engineer firm that works with huge and beautiful projects across the UK and abroad, but also new Chair for BCO Scotland. Taking over from the incredible Gillian Stewart, Peter. No pressure.
No pressure, yeah. Little trepidation, working in mega projects, billion-pound projects seems a lot easier than taking over from Gillian. I mean, she's been fantastic and very successful at leading the BCO in Scotland for a number of years now. I also think of Gillian as a friend as well, so picking it up from Gillian's going to be big shoes to fill, definitely.
So I was chatting with Michael Gallagher last week. This episode is going to be published after yours. But anyway, we were having a conversation about the three of you. You're like a big, you're in personality very similar, the three of you. You're all kind, but then your work ethic is exceptional. But you're also very, very busy and very successful. So why do you think it's important you spend time for the BCO?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the BCO, one of the benefits of working with the BCO is the access to information early. At the moment, I'm also involved in the smart buildings work with BCO. So hopefully you'll get a little exclusive. We'll hopefully have something in the guides by the end of the year. So just wait for my fellow colleagues down south to do something on that. So, but hopefully, yeah. So having access to information, the research, that's always what's been good about BCO. In terms of our committee in Scotland going forward, as you say, I think personality-wise, I think myself and Michael is obviously picking up the vice chair role, and Gillian all kind of share a passion for workplace, and how people experience workplace. But we're living in a bit of a changing world at the moment, still, and I hate the term agile working and everything else, and I hate the terms, right? But in essence, we've got our office space has got to deal with those challenges, and actually, it needs to be somewhere where people want to be, and I think for me, it's about communication to our membership in the BCO about what's important in office space, what are the things that people are looking for, and actually, the other thing I'd like to challenge and take forward is working with higher education, and perhaps if there's some research there, engaging with that, and also things like the kind of the lab concepts, the dry lab concepts, which can work in office buildings, and seeing if our spec office guidance, I feel like, could be kind of updated to deal with kind of more synergies with higher education. I think that would be really good as well. So there are a few things that I'd like to tackle, and maybe get some more, as I would call it, knowledge-based diversity in the committee as well. We've got a lot of people, that work in our office sector, but we've got developers, which is good. We've got agents, good. We've got me and engineering. We've got Gillian workplace, and we've got interior designers and architects. But one of the things we don't have is that kind of wider thought, like, people who look after large master plans where we've got multiple offices and multiple schemes and almost communities. I feel like office communities, as I like to think about them, and the higher education side, because I think, again, when in the BCO judging, which obviously I finished up, that was my last judging there. In the BCO judging, one of the things that we were looking at was a lot of higher education establishments submitting for workplace, right? But again, some of those were good, some of them weren't so good. And again, it'd be good for us to engage with them and actually show them this is what is actually good in office space. And you could add that in. You tell us what you need in office space and how you can work with office spaces that we're creating. And rather than building purpose-built office space, can there be something that could be done that would make your life easier and make office more attractive from a higher education perspective? So there's a whole load of things, and it's exciting, a bit scary, as you say. Atelier 10 have been quite busy over the last period. It's a bit more time at the moment. The industry's a little bit of a lull from a commercial workplace perspective. I do see that changing next year. I think the market conditions will definitely improve. I think tenants are still looking for kind of grade A office space, but there's a lack of supply. But the problem is the economics mean that we can't build new office buildings. So something's got to give. Because there is a demand, but there's just not the economic side of things there yet.
I was hoping for a minute you would need an events organizer in a BCO committee,
Right.
universities and stuff like that. But,
maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm very good at buying Prosecco, but there you go. Listen, so because I'm setting up in Salotto now, then I had my direct experience of workplace. So we are looking, but obviously the unit I'm looking at is in reality office space, because working in the B2B, I don't need any retail front, I don't need shop front. So I'm looking at offices, and I've seen a few, maybe 5 or 6 in the city centre. The common element I've noticed is they've been closed and empty for a long time, which means for small businesses like me, I can get rates free for the first year, so happy days. But then they are all either just being refurbished or going through refurbishment. So there is this trend that all offices are walk-in condition for the new tenants. That's a bit of a risk, though, isn't it? Because then if you got a tenant that actually need bigger space or smaller space, there is some of the landlords say, I'll work with you, I'll give you the space you need, which is handy, because then again it means I don't have fit out cost, I can just move in. So what's your experience on that?
Yeah, well, I think the bigger new build, I feel like office space, taking that one to start with, there is a trend now moving more towards the shell and core solution. And even in the big refurbishment. So we're obviously working on Aurora. And on that one, again, there is a sustainability argument to be made to just doing what the basics, I feel like, just, up the floor plate and allow the tenant to explore their own, I feel like, interior design solution to meet their staff needs. Because not every box, and I've always hated the white box design. I've always hated that white box design. White ceilings, modular lights, blah, 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 boring. And then what we go on is we rip out half of it, throw it in the bin. It's all a load of waste, lots of money. Somebody's just put in the skip. So I think new build and big refurbishment, they're going the shell and core way, right? But in the smaller office topology, right, I don't think, like yourself, I would have thought you don't want to have the hassle of having to do loads and loads of things. You want to just get in and get working. And then what you'll do is you'll either grow into the space over a period of time and start doing bits and pieces, or what you might do is that's a stepping stone to the next stage, right? And then at the next stage, you might have sufficient funds to do the next level. So I think, and we need a mix. We always need a mix in the city, right? We can't just think one size fits all. We can't just say everything's shell and core, because then all our smaller tenancies are going, I can't, and some people can't visualize it. Some of the tenants can't visualize what's that going to look like. They just see this kind of really kind of dark, dingy space with kind of ripped up carpets if it's a refurb, and the line stuff's hanging out the wall, cables, and there's half a suspended ceiling left. And you're asking a tenant to come in and imagine, like, we're just going to rip the rest of this out, and then we'll give you some money, and you just go and sort it out, and we'll catch up with you later. It doesn't really work for smaller tenants, I think.
No, also because I wouldn't have the budget to do a fit out.
Exactly.
Exactly. A startup company, I wouldn't have 50, 70, 100 grand to fit the space out. But then interestingly, one of the units I looked at is just being refurbished, and they put down a horrendous dark grey carpet, which works very well for an office space, but not for a design showroom. So again, brand new carpet, I would need to rip it out, give it to charity or something. Clutha Trust is going to take it, and then put my nice bowl on flooring down. So.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a good example. Or even a small tenant usually can get a carpet or a floor finish. So you start to think, should you have the carpet? No. What you will need is the big issues like the lights, and stuff like that, and somewhere to plug in. Right, you can get those, but you can get the opportunity to dress the space yourself. But yeah, I agree. But as I say, I think you just need a blend. We just have to watch that we don't have one size fits all, which sometimes has been like maybe 10, 15 years ago. The agency market, they just loved selling the same stuff, and it was the same stuff, and then it was more of the same stuff, and it was really boring. Now, because of obviously a drive towards the zero carbon solutions, we were encouraged to reuse our existing buildings, and I think that creates hopefully gives more options for creativity and creates different workspaces that suit different people rather than the same monotonous white box design that was there 10 to 15 years ago. So I think it's interesting with that dynamic. Some of the best workspaces, like the garment factory, that's just a great example of an existing building that wasn't kind of tagged to be special, and it just proved the market wrong, and still continues to prove the market wrong.
That's a trend, haven't they?
Yeah. It's brilliant, and those kind of spaces, I love those spaces because it makes use of a great building.
Yeah.
And I think unfortunately places like Glasgow mainly are really kind of poor. They've got a lot of poor building stock as well, and there are some buildings that just people won't want to ever work in, and going forward, and those are the ones that may have to disappear from our landscape in the city, because they're just not good enough to be refurbed or adapted and saved. Yeah, some of them are really kind of bad. I've looked at a few of them recently, but I won't say.
Well, don't get depressed on me now. We're doing very well, keeping the conversation cheerful. Listen, I was at the beautiful Virgin Money offices the other night with the BCO Next Gen. So obviously that's a big tenant, so nowhere near my size. It's got 3 floors, 60,000 square foot, each floor with a different functionality and style. So I'm going to hopefully have a chat about this with Kerr and Tierney. But that's more the kind of stuff you do, isn't it? Big projects. And as you said earlier on, there is this new trend, probably COVID enhanced, that we need to make offices where people want to go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The destinations are, I think that's the big issue. And obviously, Virgin Money looks like a great fit out. I won't be judging it, so I can talk about it now. but it does look like a good office fit out. But there are a few nice fit outs. I mean, Barclays, for example. I mean, that's the epitome of just a transformational workspace. It is that's. I mean, I've been in some fantastic buildings across the UK. That one was the best that I looked at, and the Barclays scheme has everything for the staff. I mean, it's got gyms, it's got restaurants, it's got kind of little kind of resting zones, it's got fantastic options and meeting space, right? So it's not just the same meeting room type topology. Everything's got a different interior design. Even the toilets are amazing. Every floor has a different kind of themed layout. It's just it's fantastic for the senses, and I think that's the kind of thing that workspace needs to be. It needs to be something that people are desire. They want to be there, and get them out of their houses and back into workspace. You know, I'm a great believer. You know, you want to leave your work at the workplace, and when you come home, that's your home. You know, it's just for me. That's me personally. Not everyone's like that, but I think it's important that we create the spaces where people want to be.
Yeah. And connecting to your involvement with Design Pop-Up Edinburgh next week, obviously you are our one of our headliners, a bit like Coldplay at Glastonbury.
That's a big headliner, though. I've got a lot to live up to.
So I am a living testament of what some of the things you'll be covering, as in you're going to talk about the benefits of lighting, and it's not just about lighting in the office, but also is going outdoors and get some light, yes. Some natural light. And as a post-perimenopausal woman that used the walks with the dog to kind of survive through a difficult patch, then as I said, I'm a complete and utterly living testament of what you're going to talk about next week. So just to give a snapshot, because obviously we don't want to talk about too much what you're going to do your presentation, otherwise people won't be coming. But what are you gonna tell us about next week?
Right, okay. A few snapshots. So one of them will be about how architects have forgotten how to design windows.
Okay.
Right. Okay. How to measure what a good view is. Right.
Yeah.
A little bit about circadian lighting. Everybody says, oh, Peter Kerr says circadian lighting, right? A wee bit about it. It had to be talked about. There's going to be some new information with respect to the infrared light spectrum and its health benefits. Particularly in relation to controlling things like glucose levels in your body and making you feel good, and dealing with a thing called the mitochondria. So there's a little bit of proper health kind of advice, a little bit about seasonal affective disorder, right? And a little bit about how to make your spaces look great, right? So I won't tell you how we're going to do that, but right.
But give me one piece of advice though. After this rubbish summer we had, how am I going to survive through a long winter?
So light intensity is important, right?
Yeah.
Now the main thing is, believe it or not, is getting out, right? Get out, right? So now the problem will be is you'll probably be going to work in the dark and you're probably coming home in the dark, right? So you need to get out in the middle of the day because that's pretty much the only time you're going to get light. But try and get access to light. The main benefit will be if you do it first thing in the morning, getting access to the warmer light. So you get warmer light in the morning, the warmer light at night, and that's when it's highest infrared content externally. That is where the biggest health benefits are. If you can get something between 15 and 30 minute walk, that will do you from a health perspective a world of goods. It will do for mindfulness. It's really good as well. So that would be one piece of advice is get out every day for at least 15 to 30 minutes for a walk and get access to the sunlight. Right.
Amazing. What if it's pissing down with rain? Still works?
Yeah, just accept the wetness.
Embrace the Scottish weather.
Yeah. We could do it with artificial light. In previous projects, Register Scotland, if you've probably been in there, we had the seasonal affective disorder booths, as we called them, which are also referenced in the BCO guide. And in that, we had high intensity light. Now, the problem is with artificial light, you need to experience for longer periods, and it's like really high. It's like 3,000 lux. It's really high. and you're needing to be there for a couple of hours, so you're having to sort of work in that booth to get the kind of benefits that you need from a seasonal affective disorder perspective. But again, we'll be talking about that as well.
Okay, I'll try with my 15-minute walk per day.
That's better.
So, on this note, you are also an associate with the Dementia Services Development Centre at the University of Stirling and working very close to my good friend Leslie Palmer, actually Professor Leslie Palmer, who also coming next week at the Edinburgh event. Why did you get involved with that?
Yeah, well, there is a wee story there. I think we've got time. But so again, I'm been inquisitive ever since I started. So I started in 1994 at a company called Wallace Whittle in the print room, so print boy, right? And started to learn my trade, but I was reading everything. I was reading everything I could, and I stumbled across an article. I can't remember which journal it was, and it was related to circadian lighting, right? And this was in the late 90s. And then I'm going, how do we make this happen? Then there was a product that came out from. Can I mention any product companies?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it was
looking for a sponsor anyway.
Yeah. It was Igazzini, and it was this, and we were doing this retail.
Peter.
Igazzini, yes, yeah. And it was the Sivra light fitting, and this fitting looked like a roof light, and it changed colour, temperatures, and things. And that represented the circadian light principle. And from that point onwards, I'm going, I want to get that in. It cost a lot of money. So I think the first go I had was when I joined Whitby Birds in, I think, 2001. It was a retail, I think it made them an Armani store. So you think they would have the cash for this. So it was an Armani store. Didn't have a lot of natural light because the way that they like it, not lots of windows. And so this was ideal. It was creating an artificial roof light. So I thought, right, let's do that. That'd be good. Still didn't go in. Anyway, 10 years passed, right? Joined Atelier 10 and then sold the dream to Ofgem at the Cornerstone building, right? So I had the commitment to design 3 different light solutions, right? Because the QS was all over me because it cost a lot. I explained the health benefits at this time because there was more research emerging at that time. So I went, right, this is good for you. Now Ofgem are moving to the basement, right, of Cornerstone, right? So the challenge I had was, how do I make that appealing from a light perspective? So I looked at light intensity and colour temperature, and then I looked at the existing scheme, and it was all pretty crap, and it's a pretty dank space. Anyway, Ofgem committed to it, we got it priced up, and it came in. On the budget I came in, so I was like, happy days. Then the challenge was, the PM was all over me. I won't mention their names, right? All over me to say, right, when is this coming, right? We've got a 12-week fit-out programme, and you told me it was 8-week delivery. So how's that going to happen? Because of contractor. So I was just under pressure at the time. So I'd phoned up Igazzini and went, look, the budget's done. Can you get it moving? You might not have the order yet, but can you start it? They did, thankfully, right? And it arrived, and we fitted it, and it was a beautiful, beautiful space. People from upstairs were wanting to go and work in the basement because the light quality was better. So it was higher in light intensity. If you've seen the Cornerstone building, the solar film that looks on it, or the solar protection on it, is really dark, right? So the internal space is really poor in terms of light quality. So the basement area became brilliant. And then the agents, I think they were making a joke to Ofgem, saying we'll have to charge you more rent for this space now because it's better than upstairs. But that was my first implementation of it. It was then, my colleagues were asking, they were working the WELL building standard across in the States, and they were asking for reference projects because they didn't have any. Right, and I'm going, well, I do.
I'm ready.
Right, here you go. So anyway, so I started putting in my reports and started talking about circadian lighting and its health benefits until somebody else would let me put it in their buildings. Now, anyway, I think Leslie then was speaking with my colleague Bill Ritchie, and Bill's like, oh, Peter's talking about some lighting thing, right?
Yeah.
Right, so it's circadian lighting. I put you in touch with him, and then Leslie and I had a chat, and that's how it started. It was, and Leslie, another great, if you like, industry colleague of mine as well. Had lots of fantastic conversation with Leslie over the years. And then I started doing the presentations at University of Stirling for DSTC with it's a REBA certified CPD. There'll be elements of that next week, but it's heavy. So, because it's a REBA certified CPD, so I've cut it back a little bit. so it's not too hard for everyone.
That's okay. We got plenty of coffee to keep everybody awake, though.
Yeah, you might need that.
Yeah. Right. I'm very much looking forward to this then. And thank you very much for this chat. As usual, inspiring and fun.
Yeah, no, good stuff.
You have a lovely day, Peter. Thank you.
Same yourself, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to Il Salotto Sessions. If you enjoyed the chat, please make sure you share with your friends and follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast. For more information on our events, please visit ilsalotto.design and designpopup.com. You can also find us on Instagram _designpopup and Il Salotto Glasgow, as well as LinkedIn. Should you have any feedback, questions, or suggestions, please do get in touch. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.